My name is Michelle Winbush, and I'm here in Baltimore, Maryland, where we're known for our fresh blue crabs. And since my family loves crabs, I try to incorporate crab meat into as many recipes as I can. So one week I might try a crab quiche or crab lasagna, and another week I might try crab quesadillas or crab enchiladas. And in fact, I even tried to incorporate crab meat into a recipe that I knew good and well should not include crab meat. But that is a story for another day, because today is all about my Cajun crab and corn chowder. Now this is a thick and creamy chowder that has crab meat and bacon and potatoes and corn. But the real star of this chowder is the Philadelphia cooking cream. Now when Philadelphia introduced the cooking cream, it really took my chowder to another level. But at the same time, it cut down on the cooking time, which is key at this point in my life. I am a wife, a mother, an attorney, and I do a lot of catering. So I do not have a lot of free time on my hands. And that's the beauty of the cooking cream, but also of this recipe. And today I'm going to show you how you can whip this up in the middle of the week between baseball practice and homework. But I'm also going to show you how you can take your time with this recipe on the weekend when you want to relax and spend some time in the kitchen. So since we've got a lot to cover and we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to jump right in with our first ingredient, which is bacon. Now I took 4 pieces of bacon and cooked them in a skillet for about 8 to 10 minutes, and I took them out and crumbled them up, and then I left half of the bacon fat in the pan and added a tablespoon of butter and sauteed a half of a diced onion and a clove of garlic. Now at this point, if you could make a few slight changes and actually reduce the cooking time of this recipe. And what you could do is, instead of using regular bacon, you could use Oscar Mayer fully cooked bacon. And you could take the 4 pieces, pop them in the microwave for less than a minute, and you have significantly reduced the cooking time of this recipe. And this bacon is great in a lot of things. I use it over salads, I use it with bacon cheeseburgers, I cook it for my kids in the morning before school, and my son Chase actually likes it so much, he asked me to pack it in his lunch in little plastic baggies so that he can show it off to his friends. In any event, if you do use the fully cooked bacon, you need to make sure to add some additional butter when you saute your onions and garlic, because you're not going to have the fat that you would have had if you had used regular bacon. Now once you've got your bacon and your onions cooked, you need to get a pot, and you're going to add in a can to a can and a half of cream of potato soup. And then you're going to add in a can of corn. And at this point, you can again do some slight changes, and you're actually going to increase the cooking time here. And this is really all about what you have in your kitchen. So if you have maybe some potatoes already, you could dice those up, peel them, and then dice them up. Put them in the microwave for a few minutes and use those instead of the cream of potato soup. Or you could use fresh or frozen corn instead of the corn, or instead of the canned corn, as I did here. And again, it's about what you have in your kitchen and what you want to do with the recipe. Now once you've got that in, your next ingredient is 4 ounces of the Philadelphia cooking cream. Now I've been making this recipe for a long time, and I've always used regular Philadelphia cream cheese. And it's worked wonderfully. But I always had to soften it in the microwave before I added it in. So when Philadelphia introduced the cooking cream, I decided to try it out in my recipe, and it actually worked wonderfully, and the taste was great, and it cut down on the cooking time, which was great. So once you get that in there, you're going to add in a cup of half and half. And you could actually use heavy cream or milk, just depending on what you have in your kitchen. And you want to give it a nice good stir, because then you're going to put it on the stove and bring it to a very slow boil. And once you do that, we'll turn to the next ingredients that we're going to have to add in. Now that you've brought your chowder to a slow boil, you're going to turn down the heat, and you're going to add in a 1/4 teaspoon of thyme and a 1/4 teaspoon of parsley. Then you're going to add in 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground white pepper and 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Now, if you know you do not like spicy food, please do not add the pepper into the chowder. All it's going to do is ruin the flavor of the chowder for you, and you're just not going to enjoy it. So what I usually do when I'm cooking this as an entree for my family during the week is I won't even include the pepper. But when I'm cooking it for my husband Chauncey and his friends for poker night, I will crank up the heat. So make sure you think about who you're cooking this for before you add in the pepper. And then in addition to the pepper, you're going to add in a half a teaspoon of Cajun seasoning and a half a teaspoon of Old Bay seasoning. Now, Old Bay is made here in Maryland, and if it's not available where you live, you could easily try some sort of other seafood seasoning, and I'm sure it will work just fine. Now, our last ingredient is a pound of fresh jumbo lump crab meat, which you have picked through for the shells and cartilage first, and you're going to add that in very gently. You're just going to fold it in there. And once you've got this crab meat in the chowder, you're going to put it back on the stove and simmer it for about 10 minutes. And then your chowder is going to be ready to be served. Now that your chowder is finished, I'm going to go over a couple of different options for serving your chowder. But first, as you may or may not have noticed, I forgot to add in the bacon and the onion that I cooked at the beginning of the recipe. So I just want to point out now that you should add it in at the same time you add in your cream of potato soup and your corn. Now back to serving our chowder. I've got a couple different things laying out here. And if you're going to have maybe a small dinner party and you want to serve your chowder as an appetizer, you could use a martini glass and sprinkle some sliced green onion on top and some additional Old Bay and serve it with a mini cornbread skewer as I have here. Or if you want to serve it as an entree, as I do with my family sometimes during the week, you could serve it with a nice side salad, and you could add a mini cornbread muffin. And then as I mentioned earlier, I'm an attorney, and my group has an event every couple months called Feels Like Friday, which actually takes place on a Wednesday. And what we do is we come up with different themes each time. One time we had a football tailgate. Another time we had a baseball concession stand where we brought in hot dogs and popcorn and peanuts, and we decorate the office. And our last event was a chili cook-off, and it was fabulous. We had so much fun with it. So unbeknownst to my group, I'm planning the next event, and it's going to be a soup challenge, and I am definitely going to enter my chowder. And I'm going to keep it warm in this crock pot, and I'm going to serve it in a nice clear plastic cup with some sliced green onion, and a little bacon on top, and I hope it wins. So I am sure you are dying to get into the kitchen to try this recipe. So I want to thank you for stopping by, and I hope you have a wonderful day.